At 14, but
Hello.
I certainly can't stand in front of a mirror without trying to improve the way I look. You know, by tucking something in or turning to the side,
I'll adjust the lighting.
turn the lights,
yeah.
or turn the lights off. That's what I generally do. We're not good at accepting our bodies, and particularly women. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your life's purpose worrying about your body. This is your vessel, it's your house, it's where you live. There's no point in judging it. Absolutely no point. But it's very hard. Yes. I started hating my body when I was.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Gag-Order. Today, we are going to be talking about breaking the beauty standards and redefining our self-worth. As you saw in that clip, a very well-known and respected woman had a few tips to give, and me and my lovely panel of personalities got some information and tips to give as well. And I hope that you'll join us for this evening's show and enjoy this evening's show. I've got Elisha, Maie-Jean, and Keya here, and we're talking about personal beauty standards. So let's get into it. Ladies, how are we this evening?
Great. Good. How are you?
Good. As you can see, everybody's socials are right there on their screen. So now we know where we can find each other. And if you're looking to connect, talk about the show, see what's going on, that's how you do it. So, as I said, we are going to talk about beauty, like what societal influences are on the perceptions of beauty, what our own individual perceptions are. So, I got a couple questions for you ladies, and I hope y'all got a couple questions for each other. And if the audience has anything they'd like to share or ask, I implore them to do the same. So, I would like to start with asking Miss Kia, if you could please define real beauty beyond physical experience, beyond physical appearances, what do you believe real beauty to be?
I don't think that it is an outside appearance type of thing. I feel like it's within yourself. It's how you feel. It's a confidence level that you have for your own self. It doesn't. It's not based off of other people's perception of you because everybody's perception of you doesn't matter. So I feel like it's always that inner part. Like I don't even know how to word it properly. It's the inside part, just not the outside appearance.
Absolutely. But unfortunately, society tries to tell us a whole lot different, a whole lot different. And I think that is what's really truly affected the whole self worth and self esteem part of it. I think that a lot of times society will focus solely on appearance. People usually judge solely off appearance, especially at the initial interaction. That's always the first. That's always the first line. I mean, to an extent, we all do it, and part of it is just a safety mechanism, but part of it is also some of us are a little on the shallow side. Some of us are a little more concerned about what society says is beautiful as opposed to what truly is beautiful. So, I mean, I personally, I've judged people based on their appearance. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, one of the first things I do is I'll look in somebody's eyes and then I look straight to their shoes. I know it's a horrible thing, and I know but like, I personally have a shoe fetish. So it's kind of second nature for me to do that because I want to see what they wearing on their feet.
Jinx,
But
I thought I was the only one. I look at the
oh,
shoes and the teeth.
it's
It's like my go-to for some reason.
yeah, I don't know why. And I mean, I don't base my desire to interact with someone based solely off them things, but it is my first line of judgment, and I hate to admit it, but it's true. And I think that social media and society has made it even more so like that because everybody's trying to put on a show and everybody trying to be beautiful in society standards. But what does What does beauty mean to you, Maie-Jean?
Well, I think, like Keya said, there's inner and outer beauty. So it depends on what you're actually looking for. You know, you can be beautiful internally and not be beautiful externally, and vice versa. So it depends on the context of beauty at that point, right? Are we looking solely at physical? Because if we are, then, but even that, like I said, I think in the last show, that's different for everybody too, right? Some people like blondes, some people like brunettes. Everybody likes something different. So we are geared as a society to follow trends and all things. And it's the same thing with beauty standards. You know, when I was growing up, my daughter calls it the diet generation. So women were extremely thin, they had no breast. You know, they were not ethnic in any way, shape, or form, to put it in a politically correct way. As to where now you see the opposite. Women have fuller shapes, you know, bigger breasts. They, you know, more ethnic women are in style at this point. So I think it's too broad of a term to really define in that sense. It has to be within a context,
I was just
you
referring
know.
to
And then the
your
inner
personal
beauty, you're either a good
definition.
person or not. So if you're a crappy person, then it just is what it is.
Absolutely, I agree on that 100%. I've seen some beautiful, beautiful women and some very attractive men, and the second they open their mouth and share a bit of their personality, I'm like, oh my goodness, you was ugly, ugly, ugly. So I definitely
Right.
understand where
I'd
you're
rather
coming
take a
from
look
on that.
at yeah. I'd rather deal with someone who's less quote unquote physically attractive, a nicer person, than someone who's extremely attractive and just a, you know, POC. So
Absolutely, I agree, definitely. Elisha, what are your takes on true and real beauty?
I think the Kia and Maine said the majority of it, and you did also. I think personality is what is the beauty of someone, and how they carry themselves. To me, is what makes it beauty. I think the personality and the character of that person is what brings out the beauty in them. And like you said, sometimes people just could be beautiful outside and be the worst thing ever when they start talking. And it's like you could tell by just how they speak and how they carry themselves in that manner. So I think the character and the personality from that person is what is the beauty of it. I think that what makes person beautiful is how they carry themselves and their personality.
I agree. So, what do you ladies your take on the societal pressures of like what beauty really is? Like, how do those pressures? How do you think that they affect the self worth and esteem of both men and women? Go ahead, Mo.
Well, I know for a long time I used to do that. Like society did make it seem like big butts was in. I'm a tiny person, so I used to be like, okay, this is really getting crazy. And when you being around a lot of male friends, they tend to make it seem like it's like that. So it did society kind of like social media and all that kind of make it a little tougher for people that's not shaped and look like them.
I agree. I mean, over the years, like what is defined as beautiful and what society says is beautiful has changed dramatically. Like Maine was saying, during a certain time frame, extra thin was in, and then as time goes by, now curvy and shapy is in, and I think that everybody has their own taste, their own desires. Some people like slim women. Some men like slim women. Some, whichever, however the dynamic may be. Everybody is attracted to a different type of body type. But at the same time, if we allow that attraction to supersede the inside beauty, then we gonna fail in every type of relationship, whether it be business, personal, whatever. And I feel like the way that things have been and the way that they're going, especially with social media, you got all these trends and all these things. Like you got these young girls. sucking on bottles to try and fatten up their lips. You got people drawing on fake stuff and tattooing fake stuff, and it's definitely not what it used to be. I remember there was an era where like natural was real. Like it was the woman that wasn't wearing makeup that was beautiful. It was the woman that, you know, that dressed to flatter her body as opposed to show it off. It was, I mean, even women who stay fully covered, in my eyes, I often find more attractive than women who have naked. And I think that that's played a big role in the self-esteem and self-worth aspect of it as well. Oh, we got a question from the audience. Let's see
I'd like to
this.
answer the question. Yeah, I'd like to answer that question. As
Yeah,
a
go ahead.
nurse, I think they're the worst things out there. I've known more people who have died and had infections. Um, it's just, it's so dangerous. And especially the fat transfers, the chances of infection are so high. The other thing people don't understand when they get things like BBLs or they get liposuction is that the fat can never go back to that spot, so it deposits in other places. So let's say you have liposuction done to your abdomen, the fat won't go back there, but it'll distribute to the outer parts of your thighs or under your arms or your back. And so in the end of all of that, if you don't change your whole entire lifestyle and maintain the body that you've created, you're just going to go back to an even worse body. Never mind the body you already had, because it's creating more issues for you. So, unless you really are going to diet and exercise and maintain the surgery that you had, it's absolutely not worth it. And then, like I said, when you add in the risk of the doctor messing it up, so even, and this is even medical, this is a true story. One of the nurses I work with had an extremely large top, like we're talking 8 plus. And she had decided that instead of trying to, um, whatever, she was going to get the surgery to have a reduction. She wound up having to have 2 skin grafts. She had an infection like you would not believe. It took her almost a whole year to heal. She still has extremely thick scar tissue, and this was like, quote unquote, cosmetic. Even this was for a medical procedure, and she had it by a very revered doctor. So things happen all the time. So, and especially as far as invasive surgeries go, so you have to really think about whether or not it's going to be worth it to you at the end, just to look however you're going to look. And for some people, it is. Like if you have lost a significant amount of weight and you have a lot of that hanging skin, that's always something that needs to be addressed. Or, some women really do need breast reductions, or different things, or rhinoplasty if you can't breathe. But again, I just think it's a huge risk to take if it's not medically necessary.
I agree wholeheartedly. I agree. I know. I also know somebody who had to have a reduction for medical reasons, and they had an issue. But back to our question here. Everyone, he wants to know everyone's thoughts on it. Um, as for BBLs and fake butts, I personally feel like, I mean, a lot of people might say I'm a little hypocritical because I got mad tats and whatever, but I personally believe like God gave you your body, and whatever you are or was or is what God gave you. And if you unhappy with your stomach, you better hit the gym. If you unhappy with your butt, do some squats. If you unhappy with your little underarm flab, then you need to start working them arms. Like they're physically, we can work on our bodies as much as we want to, but if we're not happy with ourselves, and that's where a big problem is going to come in with everything. It doesn't matter if, I mean, I also know people who have had tons of procedures and they still unhappy with their body. So, I mean, I personally think that no surgery should be done unless it's medically needed. But I'm not knocking those who have decided that that's their best course of action for themselves in their lives. But I mean, I would rather a fake little butt than a big bouncy. I mean, I would rather a real little butt than some fake bouncy hard brick fake shit. I just can't. That's not it for me. It's not. I would rather embrace and enjoy a natural body than something that was built by a doctor. Like, we are not Ken and Barbie dolls. We are human beings, and everybody is different. And if the person you with don't like your body, then you with the wrong person. Period. If somebody got a
And
negative comment about how your body looks, then deep down they probably unhappy about something about theirs, and that's the real issue. And I think that, with social media and society being the way that it's been, it's done a major disservice to our own self worth. A lot of people now struggle with self esteem issues because every day on social media you see these supposedly perfect bodies and supposedly perfect faces. And in all reality, a lot of it's filters, a lot of it's makeup, a lot of it's surgical procedures, and it's not real. It really, to me, ain't no fake nothing worth a temporary improvement on appearance. Not worth it. Kia, what's your thoughts on BBLs and fake butts?
You knew I was coming. You knew I was coming. So first off, let's just really the money that you have to pay for it. Okay, I can get a membership for a few years
That's
and just
right.
be there every single day. Like, why would I waste that kind of money? And I honestly can say that because when I was 16, maybe 17, me and my best friend since middle school, like we would sit on the phone every single day and try to figure out what we wanted to do for our birthday. And why did we have that idea? And like I actually called my father and I'm like, hey, you want to pay for this? And he's like, well, why would I do that? And I'm like, well, because I want it and my birthday coming. And that's just what it is. Like that's what everybody doing. And I want that. So he like, yeah, no. So when he came down the next morning to take me to school, he literally came down and he had already went to the gym and got me a whole membership. Like, yeah, no. You can go to the gym. It's nothing wrong with you. You're not handicapped. You're not physically disabled. Get your butt in the gym and do what you need to do. And like I really feel like it's a real waste of money. Like the money that you would spend on a BBL, that could have been a car payment or something. Like, you know what I mean? It could have been a down payment on a car. You could have started a business with that amount of money. Like, and it's not to take into account the aftercare, the flight to wherever state you gotta go to. Like, it's a whole lot that factors into getting the BBLs and having a fake butt, and it is not worth it. I know y'all seen K Michelle butt pop. I don't
So
want
they,
that. Me.
I agree. Elisha, what are your thoughts?
Well, I was one of those people when I started seeing all this stuff. I was like, wow, because I was real thin. I used to weigh 110 pounds. That was my weight from 16 on till 25, 26. And by then I was like, okay, something got to give. I got to do something. But once I got older and started paying attention to it, and I was like, you know what? God made me this way. So why should I go alternate? Or was it alternate? Alternate. Yeah. My structure of my body. And if a guy don't like it, because basically we're doing it for the fellas. We're not doing it for ourselves. When they do that, it's really not for yourself because, like you said, I know a couple of girls that have done it and they keep going and doing more and more because they're not satisfied. And to me, I am just satisfied for what I have. And if the guy don't like my body, then he could find someone else. That's just it. I don't like BBLs, to be honest with you. I think it's someone's that's their desire. If that's what they want, then go right ahead. But I'm not knocking you, and I don't discriminate against anybody because I know a few ladies that has them, and I see them getting sick and all these things. So I just like support them the best way I can.
I agree. I agree. I have a friend who had her boobs done in college. And she was like a, and she went and got herself a full D. And I'm like, Mama, come on. And she was a real thin girl. And then years and years later, she was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and get my butt done. And at first, it looked dead right. It really did. I ain't gonna lie. Like she came back out like after 3 weeks of healing. She came back out and it was looking right. And within like 6 months, she had an issue with one of them. Like one of them like shifted and got hard and it was crazy, and she ended up having to go back and have it taken out and had another one put in, and they still wasn't even. So now even to this day, like she's had her butt fixed 3 times and still one of her ass cheeks is lower and harder than the other one. So you wearing spandex looking all crazy and lopsided. Like it, it it don't make no sense. And the only reason she went and got her butt done was to even it out because she made her titties too big from the jump. Like it was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. And still to this day, I know this woman struggles with self-esteem issues. And now the self-esteem issues come as a result of those choices. I mean, had she gone to the gym, had she loved herself better when she was younger, then she probably wouldn't be in the position she in now. We got another question. Do you do you guys think girls with small butts get mistreated by men more?
I
um,
don't think that they get mistreated. I think that they get joned on a whole lot more, though. I feel like somebody's always gonna crack jokes.
true,
So
true.
not a mistreated, but I feel like they definitely got way more of them little puns coming at them than the person with a
I,
bigger butt.
I agree. I agree.
Check over here, girl. You got a flat back. Like, what's going on? Like, I hear stuff like that all the time from the little skinny minis down here. So I'm like, wow. I'd be like, I'm happy
Hmm.
I don't have that issue some days.
What
I
about you,
think
Elisa? Do you think ladies with small butts get mistreated?
no, I think because I have a small butt and I'm proud of my little butt, and I think that we don't get mistreated. I think the word is more of we get looked at differently. We don't get looked at as how these big butt girls would be looked at. However, 9 out of 10 from the guys that I've been around, because I used to be a tomboy, so I knew how the guys used to be. So I would see them will actually mistreat the girl with the bigger butt more than the small butt because they know it's fake, one, and then they know that that's just it's fake. So they really kind of like treat them a certain way, and then the small butt chicks don't really get that mistreated like that. To me, I don't think so. I don't think so.
I somewhat agree with what you're saying. Like, something. It's not even sometimes the fake big butts. It's even the real big butts. Obviously, like legit during that era. Even I mean, it's probably still going on right now. I ain't gonna lie, because a little pump, little bubble butt is more attractive than a flat butt, and whether it's huge and whatever or not. But I feel like they definitely get treated. I'm part of the little butt committee as well, and I feel like ladies with larger butts are sometimes objectified more. They are treated more like a piece of meat than some of the small booty women in the world. Which brings me to again the question we kind of touched on, but actually, wait, Maie-Jean, what do you believe? Small butts, do they get treated by men more mistreated? No.
I don't think so. I think it's all comes down to what I say all the time, that boundaries and what you allow, right? People are going to treat you the way you let them, period, no matter what. Whether you're fat, ugly, skinny, stupid, it doesn't matter. You could still tell people you don't like the way they're treating you, so
I agree.
I don't think it makes a difference.
In your opinion, Meijing, do you believe that the new beauty standards perpetuate the inequality and discrimination in society?
I think it always does, right? Because they're geared toward whatever they are promoting and writing. So take the 80s, we had the white bread cocaine society, and that's what the beauty standard was. Extremely thin, blonde, flat chested, thin women, right? So whatever they're trying to feed us in society is what the beauty standard's going to be. And that's how I feel about that. So that's why I feel that beauty is so subjective because it really just depends on the individual and what they find attractive. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what everybody else thinks, there's always going to be someone who finds something else attractive. You know, even in between siblings, like my sister loves blonde men. I don't like blonde men at all. Does it make one of us more or less correct? No, it's just our personal preference. And I think that society uses beauty standards to pit our personal preferences against one another. And I think it carries over into media and music and everything else that they spoon feed us. They use
I
it
agree.
to fuel their political advances.
Definitely. I'm trying to see that myself. What we got?
The girls who have a
We've got an audience member. In my opinion, I would rather have a girl with a small butt because I personally think they have better personalities than girls who have fake butts. Because if you can't love yourself, why would I want to be with you? Absolutely. I agree.
I agree.
Yep. If you
well,
don't love
and
yourself, can't
especially
nobody
people
love
who
you
have
anyways.
multiple. Yep. And especially people who have multiple surgeries, they usually have some kind of, identity issue. Because at the end of the day, like Keya said, one, who's spending the money on it?
Hmm.
Two, where's your self love? If you have to change everything about yourself, do you love yourself? And and from my perspective, you're doing medical procedures to yourself that could actually cause more harm in the long run. So, like, how is that loving yourself?
I mean, look at what's her name, Joan Rivers. Rest in peace. Like she had surgery after surgery after surgery. That's how she was living in her older age, and unfortunately, that's part of how she passed. And it's sad. You see this type of stuff on a regular basis with celebrities, and sometimes they die, sometimes they get sick, sometimes they end up having these horrible adverse reactions and end up having to go through years of treatment or more surgeries. And to me, it makes more logical sense to do whatever you can to fix your own mind and your own body before you go to any external source to try and do any type of altering.
You remember Mickey Rourke? Do you
Yeah,
remember Mickey Rourke from the 90s? Look what
yeah,
he did to himself. He was a handsome guy, and he
yeah,
made himself look atrocious,
yeah.
crazy. Look at
It really,
Madonna. She looks insane.
yeah, yeah. There's a bunch of them. I mean, I just call her Catwoman because I forgot her name, but she used to be a fairly attractive woman, and she went through surgeries over time. I mean, look at Lil Kim. Like, no disrespect, but baby, you were just fine the way you was.
She
Like, you
sure was. She was pretty before she did all that.
yeah, it's a shame because society shouldn't be able to dictate how we feel about ourselves. And technically, they can't dictate it, but we allow it to because we've become so enthralled with social media. We've become so enthralled with the whole celebrity aspect of certain things in life. And it's just, it, it sickens me
I
to
just,
see it. Go ahead.
I just think people want to fit in. I don't even think it's that deep. I think at the end of the day, even if it's not about, um, celebrities or people like that, we as humans want to feel connected. We want to feel accepted. We want to feel beautiful. We want to feel loved. So when you have someone who's in a collective community telling you that you are not what's it's hard to accept because you're not only at that point you're being rejected by a community, right? And who wants that? Nobody wants to feel that way. So it's the same thing with people with extreme beliefs. If you're extremely religious, people judge you. If you're, and the person who is being judged a lot of times doesn't understand why the other people in society are subjugating them. And sometimes there is no reason. you know, sometimes there is, like with religious, you have extreme beliefs and people don't want to deal with that type of thing. But as far as beauty standard goes, there's no real rhyme or reason. We don't know why in 1980 girls like Christy Brinkley were considered more desirable, and when now in 2024, I don't even really know anybody who's famous right now. Isn't that terrible? Well, like Kim Kardashian, like the Kardashian women are
Yeah.
more popular. So why though? Like what actually happened to make that happen? Nothing. Somebody woke up one day and was like, "Oh, I think this chick's pretty. Let's make her butt bigger or make her lips bigger and put more makeup on her." And that's what we're going to call beautiful right now. And that's all that
Yeah.
happened. So
But I
for
mean,
us to
even
internalize that, it's crazy.
even look at back to the Kardashians. Like they've even over time changed how they've altered their bodies. Like at one point they wanted the big ass and the huge titties, and that now they want to try and like Chloe toning it down tremendously, taking implants out and all this other stuff to be natural. And now she's pinning as a rail, looking like she on something. And it's crazy how we allow society to dictate those things. And I get the whole wanting to fit in, I get the whole wanting to, be a part of something. But at the same time, if you're literally sitting there altering yourself for the sake of others, how could you possibly love yourself? We got another question from our audience. I saw something pop up.
I saw something popped up.
All right. So, our question of the day from friends and family, I believe was the category. Yes. If you could have any superpower for a day, what would it be and how would you use it? All right. Keya, why don't you go first on this one? Superpowers, one day. What would you have and how would you use it?
Can you come back to me? Because I got stuck between two good answers just now, and I don't know.
All right, all right. Maie-Jean, how about you? You got your answer ready?
I'd want to fly, and I wouldn't do anything for anybody but myself. I would just fly around to different places.
I
So
like that answer. I really do. That's a good answer. Elisha, how about you?
Um, I would like to be like Xavier, where you could control people with their
Mm,
mind,
mm,
because I would actually try to have some type of humanity come back into this world where people just don't know how to love each other. They don't know how to be kind. They don't know how to talk to each other. They don't know how to. So I would be Xavier, where I could control them and let them see things differently of how this world is, because it's really sad. That'll be my superpower.
okay, okay. Kia.
Okay, guys. So, my superpower would have to be I want to be able to read people's mind. And it's not to be like nosy or intrusive. It is honestly just to be able to get a better understanding of how people think and process different things. That way, I will be able to properly communicate without insulting, offending, or just taking it all the way out of context. So I would want to read somebody's mind so I can, know how to answer without upsetting or disturbing anybody else's peace.
That's what's up. That's
What
what's
would
up.
yours be, Jinx?
Honestly, my first instinct was right along with Maie-Jean. I just want to fly. I like ever since I was young, I wanted to be in the Air Force. I wanted to be a pilot. Like if I could fly on my own without having to jump in a plane and pay for airfare, I would never be home. I would be at the beach. I would be at all my beautiful nature spots. I would be traveling, seeing friends and family all over the world. All them spots on my bucket list, I would have been there already. Like I would do all of that in one day. Like I'll be in Italy for half the day, then must stop over in Greece. Then I'll be back over in Cali. Might stop in Tokyo for a little bit. Like Yeah, that day would be lit. I'd be all over the planet, definitely. And my producer's answer would want to teleport. Ooh, that's a good one too. That's a really good one. I don't know if I could like teleport. I would probably go back to like 1940 or something and just stay there. Because the way the world is now, I don't want no parts of it. I was definitely meant to be in a whole nother generation. That's a
Look, just
fact.
take me back to when I was 18,
People say
okay?
that,
Start me
but
over at 18.
Eh?
people say that, but we have realistically, we're kinder now than we ever have been. So it's just not, there wasn't the social media presence to make people feel that way.
Yeah.
Like think about it. People were in abusive, more abusive relationships. Children were abused. There was children labor. There was the depression. Like you're talking 1945. We're at World War II. We're talking, women in the workforce, the Great Depression. Like it's an illusion that they've created for us that things were better. We had a nuclear family. We had industry in America, but did it make things better? There was extreme racism, segregation. Like,
I mean,
were you
I get that.
actually
I get
what
that. All
what
right,
was
so
better? Like
I should have been born like in the 40s and growing up like in the 60s. That's what I should have
that was Vietnam, that was still segregation, that was still racism. Like you're not looking at history, you're looking at the perception of a movie that they've given you to say, oh, this is what this time was, free love, free this, free that. It really
I'm
wasn't. It was a
looking
traumatic time in America.
I'm looking more at the way that my grandparents operated growing up. I'm looking more at the type of people that they were throughout their life. I'm looking at the way that they cherished family, the way that they stayed dedicated through some of the craziest and hardest times, the way that they stuck together no matter what was going on in the outside world, the
They
days
didn't
when
quit.
social media and
You're looking
technology
at it in a better aspect. You're
They
looking at it in the good
Right?
time, the good
They
part
didn't
of it.
were,
women couldn't work. You couldn't own property. You couldn't get a job. Your grandmother didn't have a choice. She had to make it work. Do you
I
understand what I'm
no
saying?
no
Same
no
thing with your
I
grandparents.
get
You
that
couldn't
wholeheartedly, but
work.
my grandmother did work. My grandmother did work. She had numerous different professions, and my grandfather worked hard, and they were able to actually build a life for their family because the economy was different, and the work ethic was different, and the whole
But we
family
had
dynamic was different. And like I
we don't
said,
have industry, and
yeah, and there's
they
not.
outsourced all of our factory work. So people, back then we had unions and retirement plans, and none of that exists anymore.
I mean, some of the things do exist still, but it's not as prevalent as it was back then. Definitely. But I think part of the main reason that I thought that time frame also was because social media and technology wasn't as advanced as it is now, and it didn't play such a strong role in people's lives as it does now. I mean, I know back in the 60s or 70s, if you sitting there out to dinner with your significant other, it's going to be you and that person at the table, and that's it. And now it's like you fighting to get your significant other attention because they facing their phone, whether they on social media, whether they playing a game, whether they doing whatever they doing. It's become a whole nother distraction in life. It's become a whole nother motivating factor in certain movements in people. Like it's I don't know how to word what I'm actually trying to say right at the moment, but I just feel
So
like times have changed dramatically, and what used to be traditional life, traditional beauty, traditional families, none of that is traditional anymore. Like nowadays, you think traditional and people think old fashioned automatically because tradition now is a rarity. There's not real tradition. I mean, look at all. I mean, you could go to any type of demographic, any type of ethnicity, and if you look at things from that grandparent generation to now, just overall, the whole the whole function
It's
has
changed.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Like people don't even eat together at dinner
Well, we
tables
become
and talk to each
material.
other. They on their phones, and
Right.
each person is eating separately in their rooms and things like that. So that's one of the traditions that they used to do back in the day too.
People don't support or empower each other the
Those
way
are.
they used to.
They sure don't. All that stopped.
It's a
Mhm.
choice though. Like even with my kids, when we have dinner, I make them put their phones away. Like you don't have to be on your phone. It's a choice you're making. And we're making that choice because we have stopped having intimate relationships, and Jinx, that's really what you're talking about. Because now
Absolutely.
at this point, we don't have to. I don't have to rely on you because once you screw me over, I just move on to whoever else. And we have so many options because of social media that it makes it extremely easy to do. But at the end of the day, phones are like drugs.
Yeah.
So if you find yourself to where you can't put that phone down, then it just becomes like another drug. Like I tell my son with the video games, once it starts affecting your personal relationships in your life, it becomes a problem. It becomes an addiction. Addictions don't have to be pharmaceuticals, it could be anything. People get addicted to a lot of things. And so at that point, you can't blame society. You have to blame yourself. Why are you going to sit at dinner with somebody who won't get off their phone? Why are you going to let your kids take their food and go in their room and be on their phone? Like, these are choices. We're acting like it's just something that has to happen. It doesn't.
You know,
These are
I
choices that
wholeheartedly
we're consciously making,
because and
things
I
we're
wholeheartedly
allowing.
agree. I agree with you're saying that there are choices that we're making is what we're allowing in our lives, and in the choices that we allow others to make within our lives, whatever the case may be. But it is also society. It is also the constant influence. It is the constant. It's the addiction, but it's also the constant influence. And I want to get back to that aspect of that the topic so that we can kind of get back on topic with the whole beauty roles and everything. This like the beauty industry itself has, in my opinion, definitely caused an influx of women who and men who suffer with more self-esteem and self-worth issues because society puts on this image of perfection and tells us what is beautiful and what's not. And for the most part, a lot of people fall in line with those ideas. A lot of people then adapt those ideas because we're so easily influenced because we are addicted by what we're influenced by. So going back to the role of
Look
like
at
the beauty industry, what was that?
remember remember Hair Club for Men? You
Oh
don't
yeah,
really see
Rogan.
those ads anymore because bald men. You remember the Hair Club for Men at night?
Mm-hmm.
And now you don't, like, I remember my uncle when he was going bald, he did all that crazy stuff. And nowadays women love bald men.
Absolutely. I remember telling a coworker who had this horrible toupee, like, bro, just stop putting it on. Just stop. Just don't do it. Like, women are going like a nice natural bald head more than they going like a fake toupee that's leaking dandruff everywhere. Like, people, and again,
My goodness.
people change regularly, but I also, like I said, I wanna talk more about the role of the beauty industry because I think it definitely perpetuates the unrealistic beauty ideals, and I think it helps to hurt our self worth as a all. Um, I would like to know. Actually, we're gonna do PMS check-ins in just a second, and then we can get back to this. Um, Ladies and gentlemen, we like to do a segment of the show called PMS check-ins, and it ain't got nothing to do with our cycle. It ain't just for the ladies; it's for the men too. We want us to check in with our own personal physical, mental, and spiritual status, just so that we can. All right, so I will start with Miss Keya tonight. How you feeling on the PMS check-in today?
Okay, so physically, I'm good physically. Mentally, tried, and then spiritually, prayed up.
That's what's up. I like that. I like that. Maie-Jean, how about you today?
Physically, I was tired from the race day. Mentally, I'm good, and spiritually, I'm always good.
Good. Elisha, how about you?
Physically, I'm okay. Um, Mentally, I'm not bad, and spiritually, I'm actually okay. Feels
Good,
great,
good.
actually. Hmm.
That's what I like to hear. Physically, I am spent. I'm in a lot of pain. A lot of pain. Um, Mentally, I'm tired. I just want to, do what I got to do this evening and hurry up and get to bed so I can start my busy day tomorrow. And spiritually, I'm just prayed up and hopeful that tomorrow is going to be an easy breezy day because I'm already in pain. Um, but I like for us ladies to take a moment to just check in with our physical, mental, and spiritual. And I really hope that others do the same because it only takes a few seconds and you'd be amazed at what it can do for your physical, mental, and spiritual. Just being aware of yourselves. Self awareness is a big part of living and healing and growing. And I literally implore all of you to give it a try. Humor me. It might sound corny, it might be stupid, but I guarantee you, once you start doing it on a regular basis, you're gonna notice a change. That's all. So back to our topic and our beauty industry aspect of it. Elisha, I want to know your thoughts on that.
The aspects on the beauty world.
Yeah, the industry, the beauty industry. I mean, like modeling, makeup, all of
First of
that.
all, I wish I could put on my makeup of half of the time of how these women actually do look. Like seriously, I put on a lot of filters on my social media that I wish, and I say it on it, and I would be like, I wish I could put on my makeup like this because it transforms you into something totally different. And because I used to model, the industry kind of like makeup is it's like it's something else. It will actually transform you into not you anymore. You like a total different person when you put on makeup. But I have learned to try to. I haven't been really a makeup chick anyway. I'm always a just a little eyeliner, eyebrows, lip gloss, and that's it for me. Other than that, I just put on the filters now because I just like how the filters look. And I'm getting older, so it's like, ah, you start getting wrinkles, and it's just a little annoying sometimes. But
You
I
you
think
could
far
put
as
a
the
filter.
industry, they do it because it started off so way back then, and it was just to enhance certain areas when it first started, and then it just went all the way, like seriously, all the way different. I think it's totally different to me.
I agree. I agree. Definitely. I think that the industry definitely plays a big role in perpetuating that unrealistic idea of what beauty actually is. And I think that they capitalize on it just like everything. I think that they use it as a divisive technique, just like Maie-Jean was saying earlier, and have us compare and compete and keep spending our bread to try and make ourselves look different or make ourselves look like somebody else. And I think it definitely has added a negative connotation to the beauty aspect in general. I mean, you got some women that will wear barely any makeup and be naturally gorgeous, and then you got these women that without makeup you wouldn't even recognize them, and a lot of people feel like it's it's okay. I personally have never been heavy on the makeup. There was a point in time when I was in my, I don't know, maybe mid 20s where I wore a little bit more makeup than I do now. But at the end of the day, like the industry itself has gone so far above and beyond. Like they have got so many different products now. Like my teenage daughter is, I'm like, what is this? And she was like, oh, well, that's brow regulator primer or something, this, that, and the third. And I'm like, what? Like, what is you talking about? Like, you don't need all that. Like, you 13. Like, what is this? And then, like, back in my day, it was just a basic eyeliner, mascara, a little bit of eyeshadow,
Lip
lip.
gloss.
Now they literally have brands and brands and lines, and it it has become the standard to a woman, to some women, to feel they have to put all this makeup on their, to make their face up, instead of doing what's natural, instead of doing a little something just to accentuate certain aspects like we used to do. It was getting to the point where these companies realize that they could make more money off of us if they make it a competitive thing. I remember being a kid and see, maybe it's Maybelline, and it was the cutest little commercial, and I was like, oh my gosh, her lips are so perfect. And like, it started it. We were little girls watching commercials on TV, seeing it and thinking that that was the standard of beauty. And now that is what they see all day, every day. And these teenage girls are under the impression that that's the way they should be moving. That's how they have to produce themselves to the world.
Well, I think some of the celebrities like J Lo, she wears natural stuff now. Alicia Keys stopped wearing a bunch of makeup because of those things that we're talking about now. Because and you could see it a lot. And Rihanna, they don't wear a lot of makeup like they used to anymore. And they're
Yeah.
trying to show that in their beauty line that you don't have to put on so much and just be, your natural self. And I think that's what they trying to. I think they're trying to change it because I saw a difference in all of them on how their beauty line is now to what it was and how they used to dress and how they used to. I mean, not dress, but put on their makeup. It's less. They put on less makeup when they're out on social media.
I mean, I respect that, but I think that's probably also just marketing strategies. They know that the women who already gonna buy an excess of their makeup is gonna do it regardless. So now they want to try and market themselves to the women who prefer the more natural look. So they're gonna start a whole new line of the natural look makeup to market to those people.
Makes sense. Makes
And
sense.
I mean, I get it. I
But as
do.
they get
And I
older,
appreciate that movement because there are a lot of women that would prefer the natural look as opposed to the bold and the beautiful look. What were you
as
saying,
you get
Maie-Jean?
older, you can't wear too much makeup anyway. The older you get, the too much makeup makes you look old. So it's also a lot to do with their age in general. It also has to do with, like Jinx was saying, what they're trying to market or sell. Like J Lo right now is big on her skincare line. So of course she's going to tell you you don't need makeup because she wants to say that her skincare products are going to make you look good enough without the makeup. Um, so again, it's all marketing strategy. Like I just watched this thing. It was so interesting. It was a guy who majored in marketing, and he was doing dark marketing trends. And this is what he was touching on was people like that Nara Smith, a lot of these women. And what he says is that they create these brands in which it makes women look like ideals, like this perfect everything, perfect life, perfect body, perfect husband. And it creates issues for young girls because this is what they think that they're going to have. And obviously it's not the norm. So they were saying how they purposely do this, and don't create any kind of adversity in their brand so that they can manipulate people. And it's so interesting for someone to actually point it out and like break it down so that people who don't get it can understand. But the sad thing is, people who don't are just going to feed into it anyway. So
I
you
agree.
you can lead a horse to water, but you can't drink.
That's a fact. Kia, did you have anything else you wanted to touch on? No.
No, not really. Like I don't
Okay.
wear makeup, so I really don't have that much experience with it. Like when it come down to it, baby, I'm gonna go spend that $50 at back of Sephora. Can you beat my face for this event? And then I'm out. You won't see me no more until it's another wedding or something like that. Like no. I can't really experience like the only thing that I could think of that will come down to the beauty and like I understand that Maie-Jean said that it would be like a marketing strategy, but I look at it as if like they messed up on a product that they just came out with and like this is their way of trying to correct it by bringing something new out. So yeah, it still falls under digital marketing and all, but I feel like it's just them trying to say, "Oh, well, I messed up with this product, so here's something that I feel as though it's better that will make you feel better." Like, you know what I mean? So I don't know.
Yeah. Sound off, sound off. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is a segment of our show where we just gonna air it out. We gonna speak on whatever we might have missed during the show. We gonna speak on whatever might be bothering us in life, or well, yeah, in life, in our personal or business life, whatever it may be. Whatever's going on that you got on your chest weighing heavy and you want to let it out, let it out. That's what we're here for. So sound off. Who going? Nobody? Somebody. Come
I'll go
on, y'all.
first. I got something to tell.
All right.
As far as beauty stuff goes, I would like to see people stop making like with the whole cultural misappropriation thing, because I feel like at the end of the day, we shouldn't be telling people how to feel beautiful, and all cultures overlap one another as far as these things go. You know, I heard something about wigs. All women wear wigs. You know, if you have cancer, you're wearing a wig. If you're, 50 or and bald, you're wearing a wig, or braids. You know, like if there's and all these things should not be used to fuel racism and us hating each other. They should be ways for us to connect as people. And my background and culture is gypsy, and so we take things from all cultures, because we are, a lot of diverse different cultures.
Yeah.
So again, diversity can be beautiful, and when someone is emulating you, it's because they consider you beautiful. So for you to take that as an offense is actually a little crazy as far as I'm concerned. If anything, you should be, gracious that they want to look like you, right? Like, who cares if somebody thinks big lips are beautiful and they want big lips? Let them do it. Like, how does it affect you personally, or vice versa? If someone wants to make their breasts larger, smaller, you know, anything, dye their hair different colors. At the end of the day, if it makes that person feel good about themselves, why do we have to make it a negative thing? I mean, unless you're being disrespectful, because there are different levels, obviously. There are people who take things to,
Absolutely.
and I don't want to have that go without, because there are people who take things too far or who make it almost offensive, and that's not what I'm talking about. Like the girl who lied to get the job at the NACP, or those kind of people. That's different. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking
Yeah.
about in general on a day-to-day basis.
I
Do
agree.
what makes you feel good and beautiful, and whatever anybody else says doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, they really don't have much to do with your life. And if you allow something that stupid to fuel hate in yourself, then you really have to reevaluate yourself at that point too.
I agree wholeheartedly. What do you ladies think that we could do to try and like challenge that the influence that I'm I'm trying to find a way to word I'm trying to figure out how it is that we can challenge ourselves and others to not allow society to dictate so much within our lives, whether it be our own self worth, our own self esteem, our own goals, and like I know you were saying that we all have that desire to connect, but at the same time, if we're allowing so many things to influence us, we're not being true to ourselves. So I'm trying to figure out a way, and maybe you ladies can help me. Like, how do we challenge society's definition? How do we help people to really dig deep into themselves to define their own beauty. Like, how do we not let society influence us as much, or other than turning our phones and our TVs off? Like, what would you suggest to your younger self in a way that would help diminish society's control over us in those aspects? Anybody?
You have to love yourself and you have to have good boundaries. And you have to learn that the people who don't love and accept you are not your people. And you have to go find different people. And unfortunately, that's not easy for most people to do, especially if you feel attached to someone, right? If I really want to be your friend and you keep rejecting me, I'm going to internalize that. Maybe I think you're super cool, right? Maybe I love your tattoos and you're more edgy than I am, or whatever the case may be. And so then it's always going to affect my self-worth because I don't feel like I'm good enough at that point. So that's where you have to learn how to say not everyone has to like me. Not everyone has to think I'm beautiful. Not everyone has to be my friend. And you have to accept that. Because a lot of times people could say that, but then they don't accept it, or they do things that are counterintuitive to that actual,
Yeah, I get that.
actually doing that.
I
But
try my
unless you can
hardest.
do that, there's no way. Because
Yeah,
if
I
you're
try my
always
hardest.
judging yourself
My
off of what somebody said about you,
my constant my constant advice to younger women and my daughter, and even when I think back to, like, okay, well, what advice would I give myself when I was younger? It's always love yourself more. Always. That's the number one. It's always gonna be that. And that's the only way that anybody is gonna challenge an outside force, is by loving themselves more. That's the only way you're gonna combat outside forces, is to strengthen what's within. And the only way we can do that is to love ourselves. Ladies, any other questions, comments, or concerns? Because we are on our way out. All right. Well, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us this evening. And I want you all to remember that beauty is diverse and unique and deeply within. No matter how beautiful you may believe yourself to be on the outside, if the inside ain't matching, you're not as beautiful as you think you are. So embrace your individuality, empower others, encourage love, and join us next Tuesday. We'll see you Tuesday nights, 9:30. It's the Gag Order. Take care, everybody.